Inappropriate Earl, back. You see two very good-looking people on my couch right now. Well, one.
I see one.
I see one too. I was just trying to be nice.
What?
You're so much bigger than me. We have, not many guests come back for more, as Stephen Piercy would sing. Still waiting on him. Oh, it's the best song.
So good, though.
I drive by the Armenian restaurant that was in the video every day on Melrose. Gardell's
Now I'm
Armenian
hungry.
restaurant.
Thanks a lot.
Tony Katane was in that video too. But enough about past guests. Today's about the future. We have the lovely Nita Strauss.
Thank you so much for having me back on.
Oh, please. Last time I saw you was at the Pantages Theater when you were throwing me guitar picks.
Was it successful? Did you get one?
My ex-girlfriend did.
Yes, I think I remember that.
You know, our two best dates were at Alice Cooper watching
Yeah,
you.
you guys were at the Motley Crue show, and then you guys were at Pantages, I remember.
If you could just play every week, I would have lasted. But enough about my failed relationships. Great relationships. Speaking of your boyfriend, manager, your better half,
Yes.
Mr. Josh.
Hello.
Owner of the fine clothing company, Beverly Hills.
That would be me.
Stick out that chest. Yeah, it would help. You really do.
I don't want to yell into the microphone, you know?
Well, you don't have to hold it by your balls.
That's where
So,
most of his good ideas come from.
That's true.
Well, it's not that kind of a podcast, but we'll let the fans, people are
Dictate.
blowing up as we speak in chat. Everyone says hi, Nita.
Hi, guys.
Now, Nita, it's been a while since you've been here. I know you have a solo album coming out.
That's right. My first record, Controlled Chaos, that's going to come out in September this year.
Now, I know when Kiss put out their solo albums, they were met with varying...
Album covers?
Well, album covers. But they were met with... All four had different approaches. Like, Peter was a jazz aficionado, so his was probably the polar opposite of Kiss, and probably the least successful. Paul's was the most Kiss-like.
Right.
Ace's was probably the best. And Gene's was... And I love Gene. I'm getting the vault. So
Are you getting the vault?
I am.
That's cool.
For $2,000, you can have him listen to one song with you in a recording studio.
Okay.
For $2,000.
Right.
For $50, you can spend 2 hours with him.
I was going to
2
say,
hours.
is it the one where he comes here and hangs out?
I'm gonna opt for the Eric Singer option, which is Eric drops it off for $100.
He's a Gene Simmons courier now.
Yes, I mean Kiss doesn't pay that well. And Gene's solo album was basically, here's all my celebrity friends.
Sure.
I'm going to play with Helen Reddy, Katie Seagal. Is there pressure for you to appease Alice Cooper fans? Like, they want to hear your version of School's Out, like, style-wise, or do you want to do like almost what Peter Criss did? This is what I want to do.
It's a pretty big departure. There's definitely been a lot of people saying, like, are you going to get guest singers? Are you going to have Alice on it? Are you going to, are you going to do a rock album? And, I do have a band that has a singer, We Start Wars, and I have a cover band that plays 80s songs and Alice Cooper songs. So I don't really feel like I need to play those songs anymore. I think this record is my chance to do the solo shred record that I've always wanted to do, and doing it on my own terms, not leaning on special guests or calling in favors, or doing different stuff. I don't want this album to come out and people say, well, it just sold well because she had famous people play on it. I want to do at least this first record on my own, and then maybe branch out later on and collaborate with some people.
Now, it's tough to put out new music in this day and age.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, most bands rarely put out new music because it's like, what's the point?
It's hard.
Why is it hard? Like, is it just the way the industry's set up now?
Attention span. That's what it is.
But what do you mean by that? And I'm being serious.
I personally think, my opinion on that is, I think people have a very short attention span of they want stuff right now. And they want they want things to sound a certain way right now, what's going on right now. And some people don't like to wait a long time for bands to release records. And they have, they get to one band right now and then they like another band real quick. And then, look at like the hip hop community. That's all singles based driven.
I wouldn't know about that.
Well, there's no longevity in it. You know, there's people that have hits and that's it, and it's that flavor of the month, and then they move on to the next one. In the rock world, you know, you're finding bands that are finally starting to embrace doing the singles, releasing more singles than releasing records. It would take them longer to put out records, which is good. What do you think?
I forgot the question now.
Why do you think it's
That's
difficult?
because Josh is so enthralling.
He is very
I
enthralling.
just look into his eyes. But why is it so
Why
hard?
is it difficult for bands to put out new music? You know, I think a lot of it is because it's, the record deals aren't what they used to be. You know, that's the reason why we went to Kickstarter for my record. And, of course there was some label interest. There were people saying, we want to put out this record, we want to make it happen. But by and large, it's not the way that you're going to make your living now. It's not the way that you're going to pay your rent and pay your mortgage and, make stuff happen. So for us, we have a really modest recording budget. We did a really modest initial ask for the Kickstarter, which was to cover the recording fees and the publicity and pressing of the actual album and the first tour. And that was really all we needed it for. And the fact that it really took off the way it did and gave the fans a way to participate. Someone very famous said recently that rock is dead. People don't want to buy records anymore.
I think I know who that was.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of knows, but I don't want to call him out. But
I
I think everybody kind of knows who said it. And I think, seeing that people really are willing to pay for new music and be involved and be a part of it, this kind of proves that rock is not dead. People paying for music is not dead. You just need to give them a way to be involved. And I'm glad we did that.
Well, I think whoever said rock is dead is selling a particular vault.
Who could that be?
$50,000, and he goes to your house, and he'll play a couple songs
For 50 grand.
for $50,000. And I saw a recent YouTube video of some guy in Miami who paid for the experience, and it's a little rough. But I'm going to buy the $2,000 version.
And so, what do you get to do with that?
Well, I think for you meet him at a recording studio, and you get to hang out with him for 5 minutes. But hey.
But you get the vault, and if I'm not mistaken, the vaults are all different, right?
Well, yeah, you
don't know
get
what
a
you're gonna
different.
get in it.
Like my one friend got a Rolex.
Right.
I'll give him this
Right.
without naming him. I wouldn't mind a Rolex.
Sure.
So this is not about plugging Gene's vault.
Is that who it is?
I mean, from what I understand. Because I know with Kickstarter, my favorite Kickstarter was the Quiet Riot one that they used to fund their Netflix documentary.
Sure.
Which is so critically acclaimed, which
Yeah, it's a
shows
great
you
documentary, yeah.
that you can get all these great things from Kickstarter. I think it's for $100 you got a free Quiet Riot drumstick or something.
Yeah.
For $500 you got a platinum record, but for $10,000 you could actually be in the documentary.
Yeah, it's always funny to me to see, these super high up perks that people say you can be the executive producer on my album. And I didn't do one of those, and I'll tell you why. I just don't see the point. I mean, I know that the real point is it has to be somebody that just wants to contribute and help out, and that's just their way of contributing more. But the Kickstarter platform allows you to do that. If somebody wanted to contribute $10,000 to my record, they could just type in $10,000 and do that. And I think an empty executive producer title just doesn't, I don't think it really makes a lot of sense.
Well, I'd be down for that.
Well, I will happily, just put in your $10,000. I'll write it in right now.
Well, I mean, we might have to negotiate the $10,000.
My manager right here.
I gotta buy a box set.
So wait. So who paid the $10,000 to ask Chuck write the question in the documentary?
Well, that was the great thing. Is the next day I started a Kickstarter to do a documentary about the guy who paid $10,000 to be in the Quiet Riot documentary.
I would watch that documentary.
Was he the guy that asked Chuck write that question?
No, he was the guy. If you watch it again, you'll notice about maybe 50 minutes in, there's this totally random segment of the lawyer, who was a huge Quiet Riot fan, and they're interviewing him in his bedroom. And
that's
it's
the guy.
this is the guy. This is what
Really?
$10,000 gets you.
Wow.
That's actually pretty cool.
I watched that documentary because you recommended it. Actually,
I
You
liked
liked
it.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it was good.
I'm a big fan of theirs from when they played the Starwood, which is
Right.
many when Randy Rhoads was in them. So what did you do? Like little, not
Yeah.
little, but like prizes, like.
Yeah, we did some cool ones. We did, I wanted to cover the whole gamut of stuff. You know, like I wanted there to be a lot of different options. And I liked the Protest the Hero Kickstarter. I think they maybe used Indiegogo. It was a different platform. But I liked theirs because it was creative. You know, there's a lot of them, you know, I did a lot of research when we did our Kickstarter. And a lot of them were just, you can pre-order the album or we'll come to your house and we'll play a show. Or you can get the album on vinyl. And there's like, it goes from $10 to $30 to $1,000 to $10,000, and that's it. And I wanted to have some tiers for everybody. I wanted to make it fun too. So we have Pizza Night with me and Josh is one of them. You can.
I'm in on that.
And then actually we kept having to add more because the pizza nights kept selling out. So I think I'm gonna have to go to the gym with me and Josh. But at the gym you guys go to would probably be the most expensive gym.
I don't think that's selling. Maybe there might be a fan of
of all of us. Yeah,
possible.
Yeah.
We did one where I'll wear their band T-shirt or their brand shirt or your podcast shirt on stage with Alice.
Wink, wink.
Yeah. I don't. Maybe I can. Do Beverly Kills.
Yes,
Yeah.
there you go.
So there's a lot of really fun ones, and then we did the higher tier ones, the signed guitars and whatnot, and that was really cool.
And is it still ongoing, right?
Yeah, it'll be going on till Star Wars Day, May 4th.
And where do you guys want to give out the, how do people find it?
Yeah, it's at the top of all my social medias, which is Nita Strauss on Facebook and Hurricane Nita on Twitter and Instagram. And then if you just go to the Kickstarter page and search for my name, Nita Strauss, it'll come up.
And when is the hopeful release for this?
It'll be September of this year.
Around my birthday, September 17th.
Oh.
Actually, it will be right around your birthday because I get home from tour with Alice, I think September 15th, so it'll be right after that. Happy
So
birthday. You're welcome.
Maybe you do an Earl birthday show.
There you go.
We'll be doing a release party
There will be an album release party, yeah.
around that date.
Maybe at the Comedy Store.
Maybe not.
Maybe.
They had a concert there
All right,
recently.
let's add the package. Comedy Store release.
Comedy Store.
15
Earl birthday
grand.
Party.
15 grand.
Yeah, well, we have to rent it out. You pay for it. I mean, that's pretty fair.
Listen,
Standard.
I'm number 9 on iTunes right now. I'll pay for it. Now, We Start Wars. What's going on with that?
We're going to get in the studio as well with that band. We had a little bit of a scheduling conflict, which happens. You try to get 8 people, between the band and producer and engineer and everybody to all be in the same place at the same time. It's really difficult. So we've had some scheduling issues, but we're going to still get in the studio and record with that project as well.
How about this? How about a date with the keyboard player? How much is that? Check on the phone.
I'll text her, can I pimp you out on my Kickstarter?
I mean, no, not for anyone else. I'll just do a private donation.
There you go.
Because I was at the whiskey show.
Does she look like a madam to you, man?
Listen, you want to get the record made or not?
All right, in that case, get her on the phone.
Now, WrestleMania. I'm a big wrestling fan. And I did not know you were going to be at WrestleMania this year. How did that happen?
We didn't tell anybody. We didn't tell our parents. We were out in New Orleans. That's where Josh is from. We stayed at his parents' house for a couple of days, and we didn't even tell them. They're like, what did you guys come out here for? We said, oh, just, see you. See family. Maybe go to WrestleMania. We'll see. But it was amazing. You want to tell it?
Well, my family also was funny because they kind of called me out. They're like, your nephew's birthday is Saturday, right? I'm like, yeah, I can't make it. They're kind of looking
Going to
at me
NXT
what?
that day, so.
They're like, this guy has his priorities lost. And I just couldn't tell anybody. They told us not to tell anybody. And I think it's kind of a test, and we're like, look, I feel we have to keep it quiet because I think it's building the trust with the company. And kind of like the story goes, 2.5 years ago, she got into wrestling. And I was actually
gloss over this
okay.
stuff.
All right. So you went the in-depth one. All right.
What do you guys got another podcast to do? 4?
Yeah, we got a #1 comedy guy, so we're gonna.
All right, well, it's called business, tough business.
Yeah, you know how it is. Okay, so actually, her first time watching wrestling was when Sting came back at WrestleMania. So we're like, Sting is back, and I hadn't watched wrestling in a really long time, so I was like, let's go watch this WrestleMania. She's like, WrestleMania? That's for kids.
I thought it was like for kids.
Did you know who Sting was?
No, I didn't know anybody
Oh,
was.
that's
I didn't
heartbreaking.
even know that The Rock was a wrestler.
A lot of people don't.
No, I didn't know. You know, I grew up without TV. I grew up in a house that, you know, we didn't have TV in the house. So, like, you know, I had no idea. I didn't know who Sting was. I didn't know about WCW. I didn't know anything. Like, I knew nothing. And when, you know, Josh and I had been dating for a couple months, and I said, what do you want to do this Sunday? He goes, you know, I want to watch WrestleMania. I was like, okay.
So I was curious to see Sting in a WWE
Me too.
ring to see what happened, and I'm like, it's daylight, what? And I didn't know who any of the people were. Like that ladder match at the beginning, I had no idea who those people were. So we watched it, and she was just sitting there. I'm like, I don't think you realize how cool it is to see this, and she didn't get it. But we went home, we had the network, and she's like, well, show me some stuff. Why do you like wrestling? I was like, well, you can't look at what you saw the other day. You have to understand where the past came from. So I was like, where do I start? I said, let me show you the Monday Night Wars. So I started showing like the 14-part series that's on the network, which is amazing, by the way. So she watched all of it. She's like, I get it. This is amazing. So she started getting really into it, and I'd come home and she's watching some random Raw 2003. I'm like, what the hell are you watching this for? And she's like, I just, I saw this pay-per-view and I wanted to follow the storyline, so I went backwards.
I didn't understand the feud. I think that makes perfect sense.
Well, I mean, it's
That's the beauty of the network.
Yeah. The network is the greatest. Creation. They do the same thing for UFC. If you're not quite like, where do I start to watch? I mean, it's the same premise. Every single WCW, WWE, NWA, like they have something for everyone.
Yeah, ECW. I mean, they have it all.
You can see Sting when he was just a young
Just
body.
a young surfer.
Oh, surfer
With a
Sting
painted
was
face.
That was my favorite. So we're watching it, and then she continues to get into it, and we're watching NXT. She's like, "Let's watch NXT pay-per-view." I was like,
It was Takeover Brooklyn.
And
she's into it.
I'm telling you, I know now.
Yeah, we'll question us. You can question us some wrestling stuff because she knows your stuff.
I don't even watch NXT. I like the older guys.
I'm talking about like older stuff. She knows that. So we're watching it, and Shinsuke Nakamura came out. She's like, "Oh my god, this guy's so cool. His music's amazing. Entrance is awesome." I was like, "Really? Okay, cool. Yeah, song's cool. Whatever." So next day, I went out to eat with a friend or something. I came back and I saw on her Instagram that she had posted a video. I was like, "You posted that?" And she's like, "Yeah." And her friend Kat,
The keyboard player.
the keyboard player, left her keyboard over at our place, and Nita picked it up, put it out, and started playing Shinsuke's song and posted it on Instagram. She's never played anybody's wrestler entrance before that or since then. So that was 2.5 years ago. So this January, I woke up, I looked at her, and I said, "You're going to play WrestleMania this year, and you're going to play Shinsuke Nakamura out." She's like, "What?" And I go, "Yep, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm going to find a way to make it happen." So started like just talking to people and, people that I knew, and kind of making phone calls and text messages, and just started, working different angles to make it happen. And, the final straw was I was on tour with her in Florida like a week before WrestleMania, and I was like, we didn't hear from anybody really, and I was like, you know what? I think I know what's going to make it happen. And I said, I think I know what's going to make it happen. She's like, what? I was like, when we get to your dressing room tonight, I want you to play the song and perform it, and I'm going to film it. She's like, what? I go, yes. That's what I want you to do. She's like, all right. So we filmed it. I sent it off to some people. They sent it up to Flagpole. And then about 2 days later, they said, we want her to play WrestleMania. And just like that, she played Shinsuke Nakamura out at WrestleMania in New Orleans, which is amazing because I'm from New Orleans, huge Saints fan. It's in the Superdome. My first concert I saw was there. And obviously she's kicking ass on top of the world right now. So it was just an amazing, amazing, amazing experience.
Now, what's the adrenaline rush like? I mean, you've been in huge crowds with Alice Cooper, but like, I'd say wrestling crowds might even rival the adrenaline rush because it's just such testosterone in those crowds. I mean, do you even hear yourself think when you're out there?
No, it was crazy. It was really amazing. I don't really get nervous before going on stage. This was like a really unfamiliar, like uncharted thing for me to be like so amped up. I had nerves, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I hope nothing goes wrong. I was just so excited. I haven't gotten any sleep for like a week before Mania, and we just got confirmed that week. You know, it was just barely a week before that we knew we were going to do it. So I didn't get any sleep for a whole week. I was just so hyped up, you know, just like running on Monster Energy drinks and lack of sleep. And to be out there with that energy, and that was the match everybody wanted to see. You know, that was the dream match. Everybody, including myself, was so excited to see that match. So being out there in the anticipation and the tension in the room, you know, the arena was completely black. I could barely see where I was walking. They put a little pair of footprints on the ramp to show me where I should stand. And I said, it's okay. So I put my feet on the footprints, and then you could just feel the tension and excitement in the air, and it was really, really amazing to be a part of.
And what's cool is like when you look back on it, I mean, I don't know how far you want to get into it, but like, you know, from rehearsals to being in gorilla position, being next to Vince, being, you know, all that stuff was really cool. We're in gorilla position before AJ and Shinsuke came out. When we got back her guitar later, it was Brock and Roman in there. We're just like, it was such an amazing thing. And most importantly, man, the WWE people from Vince to Shane to Stephanie to Kevin Dunn to Michael to Triple H to, I mean, there were so many people, everybody, the camera guys, the social media guys, super cool. Treated us the best we've ever been treated by any company, band ever. I mean, it was so amazing the way they treated us, and they were just like, yeah, just like, you know, it's not the last time. This is the first time. You know, you guys are in it with us. And I'm like, I mean, just the respect level and how accommodating they were. It was so eye opening to be like, why can't all companies and band organizations work this way? It was really cool. It was really, really cool.
Well, they don't get it. Like, that's why they're number one. That's why they have no competition. Like,
yeah.
Because they're the best.
It was just like, you know, I grew up watching wrestling as a kid and being in gorilla position and, you know, hearing all this stuff about gorilla and seeing Vince and just seeing all these people that, you know that what they do and the influence they have and just being so, you know, just welcoming to us was really, really cool.
Now, for you younger fans out there not knowing what the gorilla position is, that sounds like a bizarre sexual whatever. It's where Gorilla Monsoon would stand behind the curtain and tell the wrestlers to go out. And believe me, when Gorilla Monsoon told you something, you did it. So it's like it's the best seat in the house because you're like it's like pushing you and Alice Cooper out on stage. It's like go now.
And now it's closed off. Back then it was just a table by the curtain. Now it's like a closed off area. So that's kind of like holy grail territory to be in. You know. It's kind of like you're only there if you're asked to be there if you're working. So there's like Vince and Michael Hayes and Road Dogg and you know Triple H would come in and out of there and you're just like sitting there like wow, whoa, you know it's like. And we got there at noon that day, and I guess you could tell about the rehearsals of the.
Yeah, I mean, what was the sound check process like? Because I imagine like they're busy setting up the stage and like the crowd's there, so they can't really watch you. Like they don't want you out there. Well, I mean, do you rehearse somewhere else and then just hope it goes well?
Oh, there was no real rehearsal. So there was a sound check. We got there at noon on Sunday, on WrestleMania Sunday, and we got there at noon. We went out stage at 1 o'clock. We ran through it 3 times, and that's when I met Shinsuke on stage that day. And I said to him, you know, I shook his hand. I said, I just want to thank you very, very much for this opportunity to play your music. And he said, well, you're welcome, but to be honest, I didn't know what was happening. So, so really, I know I had to go back and thank everyone else in the back really for the opportunity. But yeah, we went through it once, and then Shinsuke wanted to watch it back and see what it looked like, see what I was doing, and hear what I was doing. And then we did it twice more, and then they opened the doors, and it was WrestleMania.
And what was cool is like even like going back to they invited us to NXT the night before, and they're like, "We want you to come meet Triple H." Like, cool. And he came and talked to us, and he was so cool. And he was just like, "Yeah, your name had been circulating for a little bit," and just basically like it was a synergy of people we were talking to and him having his pulse on what's going on. And he was just like, "Yeah, your name kept coming up, and we wanted to do something with you." So it was just a matter of everything's just this year for Nita has been. The right place, right time, stars aligning. So it was really cool. And what's interesting, they asked us to be there at noon the next day. And, you know, Vince has already been there for a really long time. I think they got there like 8 in the morning. I mean, the guy's a beast. And just seeing him work was really interesting. I mean, he's so laser focused. And I'm 5 feet away from the guy, and he's just like, just in it, you know? And we got there at noon. They start running it. So my head is the manager side started coming out, and I was like looking. I was like, well, where are they gonna put her? Are they gonna put her in the back? Is she gonna be like the faceless guitar player chick? Like, how is this gonna work? You know? I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. We're here. That doesn't matter. We'll make this work. It'll be cool. Like, whatever. And then I saw a bunch of drummers lined up there and stuff. I was like, oh, she's gonna get lost out there. It sucks. Whatever. So they're like, okay, we're gonna start sound check. So they bring her out and they bring her all the way to the end of the ramp. I'm like, whoa.
It was a sweet position.
And I'm like, okay, this is awesome. I'm like, well, wait a second. Are they gonna mention her, or is she still gonna be a faceless guitar player? So actually, when she was sound checking, the wireless wasn't working at all, and they were like, I don't know if we can do this. Have you down here? Is that the furthest you can go? We're gonna have to wire you in. She's like, well, you guys wire me in. I have to be at the top. And I was like, oh God, please don't let this happen. They're like, all right, we're gonna figure this out. Went and got another wireless, brought it. It worked. It was like a different kind of wireless, a vocal wireless.
Yeah, it wasn't even a guitar wireless, which is why the guitar sounded a little wonky.
Yeah, it sounded a little wonky when you hear it back. But, you know, I was in Gorilla when she was going out, and I was like recording stuff on her phone. Like right when she was there, it was such a cool experience. She goes out of the curtain like the wrestler, and I'm here watching it in the back with like Vince. I see Vince stand up, and he's like nodding his head's going on, and as it's happening, and I'm like, okay, cool. They gave her the first 10 seconds, let her play, and then they went to the intro, and then they mentioned her. 31 years ago, Alice Cooper, did WrestleMania 3, and now his guitar player, superstar, Nita Strauss is playing out, superstar, rock star Shinsuke Nakamura. I was like, yes, they mentioned her. It was just like, it couldn't have gone any better. And it was just amazing. And then they filmed stuff with her afterwards that they put out on social media. And then they did a thing with a spot with Elias, with her.
He's funny.
He's cool. Yeah, he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy. I mean, all the experiences through the weekend were really amazing. Like hanging out with the wrestlers and stuff like that. But as far as like the playing wise, it couldn't have gone any better. I mean, you could not have asked for anything better. She was featured right in the front.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just and named. That's amazing. And they did stuff on her and released her on social media. And we just got this, they sent us the stats today of everything that she was mentioned. It was pretty staggering. And everything changed with her overnight. It was just really cool to see. And that's all thankful to the WWE because they were really amazing people.
I mean, I love the WWE. And, they brought Sting back. I wish it would have ended a little better, but who knows? Maybe you could play Sting.
Yeah.
He's got that Alice Cooper type. One more match with the Undertaker.
Crow Sting.
I hope so.
Well, of course.
Tell your experiences meeting the wrestlers and stuff.
Like, who was your favorite? Like, because I'm assuming, like, you knew who Triple H was and some of the more famous ones, but like, who was your favorite wrestler to go, oh my God, I want to meet this person?
It was so funny because we were around everybody and we just didn't want to get in the way. We were the new kids on the block and we didn't really want to, we were at catering and we saw Shawn Michaels and everybody there. And there's nothing worse than someone bothering you when you're eating at catering. It's happened to me 1,000 times and I didn't want to be that guy that's like, hey, can you put your fork down and talk to me for a second?
Right.
So it was funny, being sort of like fringe, circling around these people and just not wanting to bother them. So it was cool being a fly on the wall and seeing it happen. But the funniest one that we met for sure was the Big Show. Because I was in my dressing room, we got a text from WWE's music supervisor, and he said, Big Show's at catering and he wants to meet you.
Really?
And we were like, okay, like we're on our way. So we're just, we had to run around the whole Superdome. My dressing room was all the way on the other end. And we ran down there, and Big Show, in front of everybody, in front of Shawn Michaels, in front of, there's every single wrestler on the roster is in catering at that
Probably
point.
like 70 people in the back at this point.
And Big Show stands up and in his big booming voice he goes, oh my God, Nita Strauss, I've been wanting to meet you for so long. And he just put me over in front of everybody like crazy. I've been wanting to meet you. Does everybody know who this girl is? This girl is the best female guitar player in the world. Maybe the best guitar player in the world. And I was going, no, I don't know. And he goes, come on, I want to take a picture with you. He pulled us right out to the side where you could see the WrestleMania sign and stuff and took a picture with us. And if you look at the picture, I'll send it to you.
Please.
The size of this guy's hand, you see his hand on my shoulder, it's actually much bigger than my head. It's
Yeah, I mean,
insane.
he's a big dude.
He's so
Super
cool
nice.
too. Super cool.
I think most of them are like.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like in any. I'm sure there's a few musicians who maybe aren't.
Nobody was rude.
Great.
Nobody by any stretch of the imagination was rude or not cool. Just some weren't pass by and say, they wouldn't like. Some would say, a lot of them was like, hey, what's up, my name's whatever. But some of them were just to themselves, which is whatever,
Right.
That's the way, maybe they don't want to be bothered. Maybe they don't have to say hello to everybody. But everybody we met was really cool. The funniest thing is, so Nita watches, wrestling, and some of the people, like, she's just not a fan of, like, their character or whatever.
Right.
And it's very weird. Like, when I say something, it usually happens, so I have to watch what I say, because sometimes really weird things happen. But I'm like, what if when we get there, everybody that you're not a fan of, wrestling-wise, character-wise, just loves you? And she's like, oh, please, whatever. And one of the first people that we see, we're actually in the elevator with him, is the guy Elias. And I've liked this character since the beginning.
He's funny.
I told her in the beginning, I was like, that guy's going to be something. I don't know what it is, but he's going somewhere. She's like, oh, I just don't get it.
I don't like crappy guitar players. He's a crappy guitar player.
And that's his gimmick. His gimmick is, that's his
But
thing.
why is he a crappy guitar player? Let's break this down for the wrestler, because we get a lot of wrestling fans because of me being on Rowdy Piper's podcast.
Right.
What makes Elias a crappy guitar player?
Well, I mean, he's sort of like that guitar player that all guitar players hate having to deal with, that we all have had to deal with. And now that I get that it's his gimmick, I don't really, and now I don't hate him as much, but I remember him, he was coming out, and he's just this egotistical jerk, which is his character. I don't think it's him. I don't think it's coming from him, but his character is just like this jerk who thinks he's so great when he's really not a proficient guitar player. And as a guitar player, that's what I do. I go, oh gosh, another one of these, and I was just like, oh, like, and of course we meet him, and he's so nice,
He's
so
so
humble,
cool.
and so
So
cool.
cool.
Like, I was like, oh, shit.
Such a cool guy, so nice. Like, we got along immediately. I got a picture of them too in Gorilla with his guitar and her guitar.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And like he was actually just one of the nicest guys we met. But he was like the first guy we ran into, and he was in the elevator with us. And so I'm like,
We were actually staying in the rooms across the hall from each other at the hotel.
and I was like, I was like, see, look at that. What do you know? Here's one. And as the weekend progressed, every single person that she wasn't a Big Show was one of them. She doesn't like the big guys, like the Vaders and all that. She's more, tell me who you like.
Dolph Ziggler.
Thanks for throwing me under the bus.
No, I mean, it's not as a person, it's just who do you like to watch?
You like Dolph Ziggler.
I don't like Dolph. So give me a little bit of credit here. I mean, I like watching more technical wrestlers. I like Rey Mysterio and RVD. Like, I like high flyers. I like watching 205 Live and watching the guys that are like doing cool stuff.
Like the luchador guys, she likes the high flyers. So, it's just a preference thing, but like a lot of the people that we had met, like all the ones that she was like, I'm not a fan of their character. I'm not a fan of how they are on TV. Were the ones that we got to hang out with a lot, and we're all super super cool. I loved her. Like somebody's like, oh hey, oh my god, I'm a huge fan. And it's just so funny how things happen and things work themselves out. But everybody was really really cool to us, man. We went to the after party at WrestleMania night. Like we got to hang out with a bunch of the people, and everybody was just blown away, and we're just like, oh my god, I saw that performance, it gave me chills and all that stuff. It was just so cool to see like the two worlds collide, and the respect level, from performers from what they do and performers from what she does. It was a main topic conversation, and it's cool because it's not like she was in a band that was playing. It was the guitar player of the band that was there. I mean, she was featured and spotlighted, so it's very very cool to see.
Did you meet Ronda Rousey?
Yeah, we actually we went over to Ronda's and barbecued yesterday.
Really?
Which was really cool. Yeah.
I mean, she's that was a very I think there were a lot of concerns about how she would do, and
A lot.
I mean, it's two totally different real fighting, and
What were your thoughts on that match?
I mean, I don't want to burn any bridges for you guys. She's great. I mean, she did better than I thought. I mean, it's...
What didn't you like about the match?
Well, I think I know wrestling is scripted, but you know, I think wrestling fans now like almost a hint of realism, and it's I think hard to sell her as an ass kicker. She could kill me in 2 seconds, but you know, since the way her MMA career ended, you know, 2 pretty bad losses, it's a tough sell to go. She's the toughest woman on the planet, you know. But I mean,
I can see that, but I mean, on the fighting aspect, if you look at like somebody like Mike Tyson, who his last 5 fights were awful. I mean, he's still like, I don't want to mess with Mike Tyson right now.
Oh no, I don't want to mess with Ronda either. Like, I think the more believable storyline would be if Cyborg were brought in as a total villain, and then but Ronda's great. Like, she's because she had a incredible relationship with Rowdy Piper, and she kind of takes after that. I could see her being a bad girl or a face.
I mean, I was skeptical watching them. I think we were. I think everybody was.
I wasn't. I knew she was going to be amazing.
Well, just watching the fact. I mean, obviously she's a great athlete. The hardest part about wrestling in general is not doing the moves so much. I mean, it's obviously a huge part of it, but it's the selling part of it. It's the theatrical part of it. And when we're watching the match, we're like, man, okay, let's see what happens. A lot of people thought that it could be a squash match and end fast. It was a full match. And she did a really good job selling, and she did a really good job, even just the different spots of picking up Triple H. I mean, there was a lot of stuff in that match that was like, wow. And you see, if you look at it, it's like the selling that she did, the facial expressions, the way they told the story, and the way it moved. I mean, that's a pretty damn good debut, I thought.
I think it's the best debut I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was really, really good. I thought she did an amazing job. I really did.
I mean, she has the potential to be a huge star in pro wrestling if she takes it seriously, which I think she is.
Yeah.
She strikes me as the type that's not going to do anything half-ass.
Yeah, definitely. She's got a ring set up at her place. Like she said, she practices every single day. She's really taking it seriously.
So, because I think she respects Roddy so much. I think that was his jacket that she had on.
It was, yeah.
Which is, I've had that jacket on. Like, it's a religious experience to put that jacket on.
I can imagine.
That was so crazy when you think about that. When Roddy died, like, I was supposed to come here.
He was supposed to, the day he passed, he was supposed to be on his way here.
I remember. You invited me the day before at the gym. You're like, he's going to be there tomorrow. You should come over. I'm like, okay.
I was
awesome.
all excited, and I even called him that morning and was like, hey, I got your favorite water. He liked Dasani.
You talked to him that morning?
No, I talked to him the night before. I still have the voicemail. I cry every time I hear it because you could tell he was tired, and looking back, I just thought he was tired, but he probably was a little bit more than that. And I called him and said, I got your water, and someone texted me back. I think it was his wife, Kitty, and they just said, you're not going to. I think it already passed. So.
Yeah, I texted you leaving the gym to come over here, and I was like, hey, somebody just texted me, is this true? And you're like, yeah, he died.
Oh my god, I cried more than I did with my parents, but I was just like, because he was so he's like a superhero, like so
I met him one time, and he was like Piper since I was a kid, and he was so cool about meeting him was he was like the kind of guy, like when you met him, he was listening to you and made you feel like you were the only person in the room when he was talking to you. He was really good at that. And I saw him do that to a lot of, everybody he was talking to. I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And I actually got to tell him, like, as I was, when I was a kid growing up, I always looked up to you because you were like the guy that like stood up, and I always respected that. He's like, man, thank you very much for telling me that. So.
Well, he would like come to the comedy store, and he wasn't the best comic, to be honest with you. And he would agree with me. He's looking down on me. But he would tell these amazing stories. He would do like 10 minutes of jokes, and then he'd kind of fade pretty fast. And he'd rely on us to ask questions in the back. And no one would have the guts to ask him anything except for me. So of course, I would ask him like the stupidest questions. Like,
Like what would you ask him?
Was Kamala really from Uganda? And Kamala was from South Carolina.
Right.
Just done like how big were Mark Henry's shits. And he would have a Mark Henry story for 20 minutes.
Sure.
Not necessarily about his bowel movements, but like,
Hopefully not.
Well, he did have one for me, but you know, you would just throw him something and he could go on for 20 minutes, and then so he was just he's the only, I think he's the only non-stand-up to have his name on the Comedy Store wall.
Oh wow.
So I know you could see in Rhonda's eyes and her actions, like she's going, I'm not going to disrespect Roddy by, you know, because there have been some celebrities who've tried to cross over to wrestling, and it's, you know, even like when Alice did WrestleMania with Jake the Snake, he brought out Damien.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell he was here's a rock beyond a legend, but he was in their world.
Yeah.
And he was very respectful of, like, okay, I'm not at Cobo Hall. This is...
He didn't try to make it about him.
Right.
Which I thought was really cool.
And I think a lot of, like, Trump probably did. You know, it's crazy that our president's in the...
Hall of Fame.
But I was going to say, like, when you say that, when you think about the Trump and wrestling connection, I mean, if you watch those old matches where Vince has his head shaved and stuff with Trump, that's pretty funny.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
You know, whether you love Trump or you hate him, if you go back on the network and type in Donald Trump and you watch that storyline develop, I mean, that is when they bring out the barber chair and they're shaving Vince's head. I mean, like, you cannot not laugh watching that, no matter what your feelings are about politics.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I love Vince. I mean, Vince will do anything to, like, make the storyline completely real.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's why I think we all love wrestling, because it's a fantasy world. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you work incredibly touring and recording is, you know, mundane, I guess, at some points for you. And, like, to watch the network is probably, like, it's a stress release of, oh my God, the Big Show just fell off a building. I wonder
No,
if he's
really.
alive.
No, really, Stone Cold just filled that guy's car with cement. Like,
Yeah,
my
right.
car!
I want you this weekend to look at Capital Combat,
Okay.
1991, when Sting was kicked out of the Four Horsemen, and the Four Horsemen were beating him up, and RoboCop.
Oh God.
All
I don't
right.
think you haven't seen that.
No.
Oh my
It
God.
He never
is-
lets me watch WCW because if I put it on, I have to
awful.
listen to this the whole time.
It's awful.
It's so bad it's good, because
That's how it sounds like at our house when I put WCW.
I'm like, why? What? I was never a fan of that.
And then he'll just get on his
Ever.
phone and sulk until I change it.
but it's the greatest, because no one,
God.
this would have never have happened with Vince.
Never.
But they didn't figure out that, oh, it's going to take rope. You've walked the ramp. You know,
Yeah.
you're very able-bodied, so
Sure.
probably took you 20 seconds to get into your position.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't think, well, RoboCop can't move. You know, he literally, because it's a, you know, it's a real costume. It's
Yeah.
going to take him 20 minutes to get to Sting. So they had to improvise for 20 minutes.
Well, don't ruin it. I want to watch it.
Oh,
Actually, no, I
I
won't.
want to
But
watch it. This is our date night now.
Yes.
that's awful.
Happy Friday, baby.
yeah. So you'll why don't you cook Nita some dinner while she watches the 20-minute RoboCop walk?
Yeah, baby. Why don't you cook me some dinner?
Yep, right in the microwave.
All right. Come on, she got you in the gorilla position at WrestleMania. You know, most guys would kill.
I think it was a collaboration, but yeah,
Well, you got her there, but she got.
it was a group effort, and
Definitely a team effort.
we lived, you know, it was awesome.
Okay, I'll cook dinner.
Oh yeah,
No,
it was an
you
awesome
have to do
experience
it.
for both of us. So it was cool. Yeah.
Now this is where we cut off the Facebook Live.
Aww.
So where
But-
we going to? What are we going into next? So
We're
they
going to
can tune in?
iTunes and SoundCloud, and we have an Alice Cooper alumni
Who's that?
in the Facebook Live. Currently, the drummer in Kiss, Mr. Eric Singer,
Whoa!
Listener?
is waving hello.
Hey, guys.
What's up? I have not met any of the drummers of Kiss.
Well, you're not going to meet one of them. It's going to be real tough to meet Eric Carr. It's going to be tough, but you know, Peter Criss is, you know, he's
Somewhere.
around.
Yeah.
Vinnie Vincent will be at the Nashville Rockin' Pod. Maybe,
And Chuck Garrett
Hey,
will be there also.
get your box set signed. You know, I've told that story a bunch of times, like ever since Vinnie Vincent's come back. You should bring the box set, the empty box set that he sent, and get it signed.
it's a bone of, you know, it's possible.
I mean, it'd be great. Like, this is what I got, and I received nothing. So, can you sign this?
Well, Vinny has come out and said he's going to make it right with all the people he's
Really?
whose shipments got lost.
Really?
Is he in the program? Is he making amends?
Well, I think he's got other issues at the moment other than his box set, but he says he's going to give each fan who ordered one a second free box set.
Really?
I don't really want. I just want the one I paid for. I want a fucking second.
I've told that story like 3 times in the last week because it's so hilarious.
Well, I mean, were you a Vinnie Vincent fan?
I mean, I liked that double V guitar that he had, but as far as anything else, not so much.
Because, well, I've always wanted to get a guitar player's view on him. Like, I'm just a fan. I can't play. To me, he maybe overindulged a little bit in the solos. It's like, dude, I know you can play. How about letting the song breathe?
Right.
He was very different from the typical Kiss style.
But I felt he was the perfect fit. I don't know if Ace could have played with Kiss in the 80s because they wanted Jakey Lee, George Lynch, DeMartini type of faster playing, I guess. And I'm not saying Ace couldn't play that, but maybe he wasn't the right fit. He was the perfect fit at the time.
Well, there's that great quote from Ace where he said, "If I would have known I was going to inspire that many guitar players, I would have practiced more." And I think that is the perfect way to say it. He's not really that super innovator guitar player. I mean, he is a guitar player that a lot of other guitar players copy, but he's not that guy that you're going to say Ace really can play stuff that no one else can play, like
Right.
Steve Vai or Jakey Lee or Brad Gillis or any of those guys that are just the super virtuoso players. So Vinnie Vincent definitely was more on that level of playing and that speed than Ace was, I would say.
Here's a cool Kiss story that actually relates to a couple days ago. Paul Stanley were at the ASCAP Awards, and a lot of people don't know, but Nita used to play for LA Kiss, and she would play the national
football team, not the cover band.
And she used to play the national anthem, and so she had met. Actually, why don't you tell the story?
The arena football team.
Yeah.
The arena football team, yeah. Which story are you talking about?
So she was playing for the LA Kiss team, so they knew who she was and whatever. And her last day, Paul Stanley came up to her and said, well, okay, hold on. The video of her playing the national anthem is what was sent to Bob Ezrin to have them look at her to see if she could play an Alice Cooper. And the last day...
Yeah, the last day at the LA Kiss games, I was leaving the arena, and I knew I was leaving, mid-season to go join the Motley Crue tour. And Paul was walking in, I was walking out. We were about 20 feet from each other, and I was gonna say bye, and then I just didn't want. It was again like I just didn't want to bug him. He was walking with a purpose. He seemed busy. I was like, I'll just send an email and say thank you. But I think I just waited. I said, "Bye, Paul. Thank you very much." And he said, "Nita," and he turned and walked like 20 feet back to me, completely out of his way. And he said, "I'd heard that we're losing you. We were all really, really bummed out. We're sad that it's your last day. But if we have to lose you to any organization, I'm really glad that it's Alice Cooper. We shared a drummer for a while." Hey, Eric.
The great Eric Singer.
Yeah.
He said, "We shared a drummer for a while. It's a great camp. I know Eric will be the first one to agree with me on that, how amazing the Alice Cooper camp is to be a part of." And he said, "If we have to lose you to anybody, I'm really glad it's Alice Cooper. You're going to do really well there."
And you have.
And how it goes full circle, 3 days ago, she was able to say...
I told him that. Yeah, I told Paul that story at the ASCAP Pop Awards, how much that meant to me.
Well, I mean, like Paul Stanley says something. It's like.
Well, it was just so kind, it's stuff like that really stands out to me when someone goes out of their way to be kind in this business, like the WWE was with us. They treated us like rock stars, so when somebody goes out of their way to make you feel special and make you feel like a rock star and make you feel wanted there, it's one thing to say, when my first day when I met Gene, I said, "Thank you very much for the opportunity." He said, "You're very welcome, very glad to have you on board." And that was that. I was really thankful, but to have Paul really go out of his way to say, "I know this is what's happening, we're going to miss you around here, thank you for your time, and you're going to do really well with Alice," it really meant a lot to me.
I'm surprised Gene didn't try and sell you a box.
Special LA Kiss one with a commemorative program.
Don't put it in his head. Now, we're going to cut off the Facebook Live. So for the Facebook Live people, we got a Kickstarter. We want Nita's one of the coolest. support her. You like her music. It all helps if we all chip in a little bit. So where can people find it? Say it again for the fans on all your social media sites.
Yeah, I'll post the link here in the comments. I'll find it. But my Facebook is Nita Strauss, NITASTRAUSS, and I'm Hurricane Nita on the Instagram and the Twitter.
All right, guys. I don't ask you guys for much other than leave a goddamn review for this podcast. It's really not that hard. If you're not going to leave a review on the podcast, go to Nita's Kickstarter. Buy Beverly Kills clothing. Josh, stick out your chest for a second. I mean, it really is. They got some great shirts, and as a person who deals with a lot of shitheads in my business, ego kills.
Talent.
They've got a lot of great sayings on their shirts that you will love being seen in. Josh, where can people check that out?
On social media, it's Beverly Kills CA. And you can go to beverlykills.com and everything's there. And then my social media is the Josh V as in Victor.
All right, guys, you're going to have to go on iTunes to listen to the rest. Inappropriate Earl, SoundCloud, and iTunes. I love you all.